What's going on, everybody? Monday, November 26th. All the Thanksgiving malaise is gone. We can just get back to the normal. Let's just pay attention to basketball and not care about football on a Thursday, which I greatly prefer. 7-gamer today. Not the most appealing slate in the world. The goods are actually at the 7 o'clock spot, unless you're a really big fan of Warriors Magic as a very aggressive late-night hammer. I am not, but I don't know. I just want to play basketball and stop thinking about football. Adam, what's going on?
Yeah, man. How's it going? How was your weekend?
It was good. I went to see Instant Family on Saturday night, which was pretty fun.
What is it?
It's a Mark Wahlberg, Rose Byrne movie about adopting children, but more of a comedy, sort of like a nice story. It was good.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. I don't know how big you are into stand-up comedy, but Tom Segura we're a fan of him, and he's in the movie for a couple minutes, so that's kind of why we went.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've heard of him. I can't think if I've actually watched any of his stuff.
Couple specials on Netflix. My wife's a
Yeah.
big fan of his podcast. Yeah, it was fun. Good time. That's it. What about you? How was your weekend?
I don't think I did really anything. Played basketball. Got in a fight with Siege on Twitter. That's always fun.
There you go.
Yeah, a pretty uneventful weekend.
Yeah, I didn't do much of anything. We bought a tree yesterday. That was annoying. Never had or we stopped having real trees when I was like 7 or 8 because I was allergic. So
Yeah.
I've had a fake tree my entire life since that point. We decided to get a real one now. Since I've moved to North Carolina, I basically don't have allergies. Like, I used to never be able to be around cut grass. Now I cut our grass. I don't know what changed. Different strains of pollen down here, I guess.
Yeah, all that outside stuff. There's just so many different strains of it.
Yeah, so it's been great down here. We went, picked up a tree, carried it to the car. Just, we'll say 20 yards. In the time that I carried it 20 yards in my arms, both of my forearms just broke out in a rash. So I was like, oh, cool. Still allergic to Christmas trees. So we got that one up. It wasn't great. It was real super itchy, but now we have a real Christmas tree downstairs.
There you go. And
Lucky us.
hopefully, as long as you're not touching it, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't plan on ever touching it again until I got to throw it out in the front yard.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince the wife to just get like a Christmas tree fat head and stick it to the wall.
There you go.
It's
seems
not
a lot
working.
easier. Yeah.
Not working. I wish it would. It won't. I was like, oh, this would be so much easier. Nope, that's not how it works. Promo codes today. Cyber Mon. Actually, it's Cyber Month. We have 2 of them. It's kind of annoying. One of them was Cyber Mon. One of them was Cyber Month. Cyber Month is the promo code we'll be using on this particular show, but Cyber Year is the one that you guys should be looking for. It's a really good promo. 12 months for the price of 10. You really can't beat that. For the amount of content that you're going to get. We're cranking it out for basketball, baseball, football. It's not just this basketball season or this football season. You'll get baseball throughout the year. 12 months for the price of 10. Can't beat it. Cyber Year is the promo. You got to enter that up for Cyber Monday. You doing any shopping today?
No, I'm actually pretty good about not shopping like ever. I just spend all my money on DFS and alcohol.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. Well, if you want to spend money on more alcohol, you could use the Cyber Month promo code, 50% off your first month. Both of those packages that you could use, only all access, and they do not include Fantasy Cruncher. We can't give out those sorts of discounts for Fantasy Cruncher, but for the premium all access package, whether that's monthly or yearly, either use the promo code Cyber Month or Cyber Year. I hope I don't have to tell you which one goes with which. You ready to break this down?
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty. First game up on the docket, the Charlotte Hornets hosting the Milwaukee Bucks. Hornets 115.25 implied total. Bucks 120.25. These two teams have the highest individual implied totals of the slate. Number 1 and number 2, which is not a good sign for the rest of the games that we need to talk about. Let's start on the Charlotte side with Kemba Walker, 9,200 on FanDuel, 94 on DK. Just continues to be priced less on FanDuel than DraftKings. I don't know how that's possible, but it probably gives There's probably a sign in there somewhere as to how they do their pricing algorithm, since it seems to never be correcting itself. I'll have to dig into that. I probably won't. What do you want to do with Kemba? Is it still just, I mean, for me, it's just tournament only. 9,400 on DK is too tough, and I like him on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. Played FanDuel for the first time in probably a week or so yesterday, and it was like one of the first things I noticed was just how Kemba was popping into like every single lineup I made on FanDuel, and I was just getting nowhere close to him on DraftKings. So I expect that'll be the case again today. A good Milwaukee defense, but also a very fast-paced Milwaukee team, so that should play into Kemba's favor. Yeah, no issues with him on FanDuel. Purely tournaments on DraftKings.
Same page here. I mean, I got a ton of him on FanDuel to start. He's the second most expensive point guard, $100 behind John Wall, $200 ahead of Kyrie Irving. To me, he just grades out better than those guys. So, gonna be another Kemba night for me, and hopefully, it's one of those days where he decides to just go absolutely ham. I like those nights; they're easier for me. MKG likely back today. Do you have him in right now?
I do have him in right now.
Okay. So probably takes a little bit of the shine off of Jeremy Lamb, or at least on FanDuel. On DK, you can talk me into it at 5,600. How do you want to manage the rest of this Hornets team if MKG is back?
There are a couple things that at least concern me here. Jeremy Lamb obviously has been playing well, and I still expect him to kind of be the first get the first opportunity at playing big minutes. But there are a couple of things that are concerning. One, MKG being back, they don't play the same position, but it does just kind of shift everyone down and make it a little more difficult for Lamb to hit his ceiling in minutes. Another thing that we saw yesterday was Malik Monk suddenly emerge. Had not been in the rotation at all. Came out, scored, I think, 26 real points, tying his career high. I assume that's not going to get him sent back to the bench anytime soon. He played every minute that Jeremy Lamb was not on the floor, and then they closed alongside each other. But again, having MKG back to eat up, 18 to 20 minutes at the 4 and, shift everyone kind of up a position, it's just another guy that makes it so Jeremy Lamb can play 25 instead of 34 minutes, depending on how the game goes. Makes it a little bit more risky. Doesn't do anything to his ceiling, just another body out there that apparently is back in the rotation and potentially taking minutes away from Jeremy Lamb.
They had to dust off Monk eventually, I guess.
Yeah, it's just so weird. And yesterday was just weird in general. Like, you had Monk do that. You had Dwayne Wade come out and score 35 points after just being absolutely awful in the first two games since he came back. But yeah, it was just weird. Like, we saw Monk basically just play himself completely out of the rotation, and then suddenly he's back.
I don't know why they don't play him more.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I know that he's had issues, but even if you're not talking about just winning basketball games right now, talent wise, from a developmental standpoint, what are you getting from playing Dwayne Bacon over Malik Monk?
Nothing. I mean, what are you getting if you're playing Tony Parker ahead of Malik Monk?
Tony Parker at least can help you win games now, though.
Sure, but I mean, what's the goal for the Hornets? To be the 7 seed?
I mean, what is their actual goal, or what should their goal be? Is probably two very different questions.
That's a good point. Can't leave it to Michael Jordan to do anything, logical and reasonable.
Because I would assume their actual goal is to be the 7th seed. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you want to do that, then go get Tony Parker. I'd probably go a different direction. I assume you would too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, but yeah, so I guess that's one thing to point out with Monk is I assume Parker will be back today because he was active yesterday. He just wasn't going to play. But Monk wasn't even backing up Kemba. That still was Devontae Graham. So I expect with Parker back that Devontae Graham's completely out of the rotation, and then you'll see Parker play the backup point, maybe play some minutes alongside Kemba, which again is a knock on Jeremy Lamb. Monk, who the hell knows? But it's just we're back to where beyond Kemba, there's a million different ways the Charlotte rotation can go on a game-to-game basis, and that just makes it so that you have to know that you're taking on more risk with guys, even though their ceilings don't really change.
Is there anybody else you're interested in rostering today from the Hornets? Or is there just too much sort of, everybody's kind of priced for where MKG has been out?
Yeah, I mean, Cody Zeller is the only one that I'm still interested in. And I hate playing him in tournaments because he just very, very rarely gives you a big game, but he still should play around 30 minutes here. And, even if he plays 28, he's $4,000 on DraftKings. It's not a bad matchup.
Yeah.
He should be able to open up, plenty of salary for you and give you, 24 fantasy points.
Okay. I got a ton. This should come as no surprise. I got a ton of Nick Batum on my first crunch of FanDuel. That'll go away once ownership projections drop, and I can dial that back. But I don't think that I'll be needing 56% of Nick Batum tonight.
I don't think anyone ever needs 56% of Nick Batum ever.
Now, I might not have 5.6% of Nick Batum by the time we get there. Let's move over to the Milwaukee side. Giannis, 12,700 on FanDuel, which is a staggering price point today. 11.6 on DK. The only other priced up small forward on FanDuel would be Kevin Durant at 11.5. I would prefer Durant in that scenario. What do you want to do with Giannis at both 11.6 on DK? Since it's kind of two different questions. What do you want to do with Giannis? We'll just put it that way.
If I get him, I get him, but it's just going to be really difficult for me to actually prioritize him over Durant unless it's for ownership reasons, because Durant on DraftKings is still $700 less expensive than Giannis is. And I've been talking about Durant every single day since Curry went out, and him coming off of a 70-plus fantasy point game isn't going to make me think that I was wrong or anything. So still, where Durant, I think, is really underpriced. Then you also, obviously you have Davis, who's questionable, but he's cheaper than Giannis. It's really, I love Giannis. I think everyone knows that at this point. But when you're just talking about ceilings, his is through the roof, but so is Durant, so is Davis. And paying for the most expensive guy out of that group is just really, really difficult to prioritize unless, our ownership projections at 630 say that Giannis is going to be like, half the ownership of the other guys.
Yeah, and it's not as if this is some like cupcake matchup, a road game in Charlotte on a Monday. Like it's just like you explained it perfectly. Like I got 6% of him on my first crunch. Fine. Like that could have come up anywhere from like the 0 to 25 range, and I'd be like, okay, that'll work for me. However it fits, it fits. It's 12.7 is just an outlandish price on FanDuel, and I feel like more often than not, I'll be better off not having him.
Right, and also it's worth pointing out that you can get, if you're trying to get to like the Milwaukee side of this game, because they do have a 120 implied total, which is the highest, probably the highest on the slate. You have other guys that you can go to for, ceiling purposes. Middleton at 7,500. He's playing closer to 34 minutes now than the 36 or 37 we used to see, but he still has upside at that price. Brook Lopez down to 4,700 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
He's going to be inconsistent, but he clearly has upside at that price. There's ways that you can get exposure to this team without having to invest, 20% of your salary cap into Giannis.
Yeah, the pricing on FanDuel is fantastic too. Chris Middleton, 7,400 on FanDuel, so $100 cheaper. Bledsoe only $200 more expensive than DK at 7,400 as well. Brook Lopez is $5K. If you're a Brogdon guy, 5,400. I got a lot of Middleton, a lot of Bledsoe, a lot of Brook Lopez on my first crunch, and that doesn't shock me. They have 120 implied total. Just about everyone else is at like 110 or below that. So it's clearly the most appealing spot from like an offense perspective. The points are going to be there. If you were going to have like two of Milwaukee, would you be trying to prioritize Kemba?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially on FanDuel.
Yeah.
DraftKings, maybe not so much, just because it just gets into, you end up overpaying for a lot of stuff if you do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if you want to do $9,200 Kemba with Middleton and Brook Lopez or something, might not be the best example, but it's a good game to have a part of, that's for sure. Any update on ownership? Nope. Okay.
I do. I just kind of quickly updated my baselines to where I probably will end up at. I do have Giannis projected as the highest scorer on the slate, not surprisingly. So again, certainly nothing that I dislike about Giannis.
I actually have him. I have him second, slightly behind someone we will get to in the near future. Anything else you want to touch on in this Hornets Bucks game?
No.
I agree. This is probably a weird one. Any interest in Marvin Williams on DK 3,700?
The price tag's really nice. I don't have an issue. The thing that I think will probably cause me concern is that Marvin Williams was 25% owned yesterday and just had an absolute outlier game. I think he had 20 actual points, like 13 or 14 rebounds, went for 41 or 42 fantasy points. He clearly has that upside, but that's not something you're going to get from him very regularly. But I would assume that people just chase that. And having MKG back, that's the same position that Williams plays. So I think that you're most likely going to see, him lose a few minutes, potentially more depending on how the game goes. Like he's one of the guys that we've seen sometimes not even close. So there's a bit more risk than there was when MKG was out, and he just had an absolute outlier performance. So in a vacuum, I think the price is fine, but he's not someone that I would be, if he's really popular, I would be comfortable having less of him in the field and, hoping that he gives us 20 or 21 points and that the raw points just, don't matter.
Okay. He was like popping off as a very good salary play on DraftKings, and the value looked good. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned it. Let's move to Cleveland. The Cavs just beating up on quality teams. 105.25 implied total. Vegas, not much of a believer. 111.25 for Minnesota. So 6-point favorites in Cleveland. We'll start on Cleveland. Colin Sexton, 5,800 on both sites. It's not too bad on FanDuel. I don't know if I want $5,800 Colin Sexton on DraftKings. Do you prioritize Sexton ever?
No, I like him. He's just someone that never really pops in my projections. And it's actually something that I've found myself trying to force in on some slates because I think I've been under projecting him compared to where I should, at least for his ceiling. I mean, the minutes are really nice here. The matchup obviously is perfectly fine. He's shooting a lot. He's playing better. I have no issue with him. I do obviously prefer him on FanDuel where he's the same salary. But it's just still going to be difficult for me to actually prioritize him on this slate.
Yeah, I'll get a little in the mid-tier. That's fine. There are two things that look good in this game. One I'm fine with on FanDuel, but it's even better on DK. The other is better on DK. Rodney Hood, 5,000 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DK. He's a guy that's popping up a lot for me. And at 4,200 on DraftKings, unless I'm crazy about his minutes right now, this seems like a really nice value for Hood.
What do you have his minutes at?
31.
Yeah, that seems fine. He's been playing around there all season. He only played 26 last game, but that just kind of looks like a weird rotation where Clarkson got a few more minutes than normal. I don't know. I can't really. Oh, David Nwaba played 39 minutes. That'll also have an impact.
Yeah.
Larry Nance played some time at the 4, which shifts everyone up a spot. So they had a weird rotation last game, which makes me less confident in their minutes than I had been based on the last couple. But I think projecting Hood for 30 is probably still, pretty accurate. I still get him as like a super marginal play, but
what do you have him projected for?
If I project him for 30 minutes on DraftKings, I get 24 fantasy points.
Okay, so I have him at 26.5 on DK, which is making him just jump off the page for 4,200. What do you think about David Nwaba then on DraftKings 3,700?
I'm good.
I mean, clearly, caveat here is that he is David Nwaba. So let's not lose sight of that.
I mean, he's whatever. Like if the easiest way for me to get to Nwaba would be if I need a value guy in that range, and hypothetically Marvin Williams is projected for like 30% ownership, and Nwaba's projected for like 10.
There you go.
I don't think that Nwaba projects that differently from Marvin Williams.
That makes sense to me. Clark Terrell in chat. Hood sucks.
I agree.
Both of y'all, man. I had some Hood for this 31.3 fantasy point game against the Sixers.
I didn't know he'd actually broke 30 this year.
10 for 20 from the field. 25 real fantasy points. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Rodney Hood fan in the world, but for 4,200, I think that's an interesting value spot. Again, I won't have 39% like my first crunch had, but I will be probably double the field of Hood. I don't like myself for it. Let's just be clear.
It's nice of you to, give back to the community.
Yeah, I said that in Slack earlier today. Somebody was just like, anybody have any big scores this weekend? I was like, FanDuel had a nice ROI on my investment. Are you looking at anything from Cleveland then?
Chetty, um, again, can't be as confident in him as, minutes wise. You can never be confident in him from a production standpoint anyway. But he had been playing 40 minutes in 2 straight games. Naturally, he comes out last game, plays 23 and a half minutes against the Rockets. Clearly a factor of Larry Nance playing more time at the 4, David Nwaba playing close to 40 minutes. Those are all things that will make his minutes go down, but there's still a path to him playing a ton of minutes here at a cheap price tag. So he's not someone I'm prioritizing, but I do think that it's at least an interesting price point. But Tristan Thompson's really, I think, the most interesting guy here. I mean, just playing phenomenally well, still getting all the center minutes that he can handle. This is a matchup where I would expect them to want him out there for defensive purposes as much as they can. He played 39 minutes against Houston, had obviously a monster game there, but he's just like his price tag is more expensive than I like to pay for Tristan Thompson. But if you actually take the name out of it and look at what he's been doing in the minutes he's playing, he projects as a pretty good play here.
Okay. How many minutes will you be projecting Thompson for?
Somewhere between 34 and 36.
Okay.
34 is normally my baseline for Thompson. In this matchup, I might go a little bit higher.
Yeah, I have a little less than that. I have 32 in here right now, which is making me sort of reevaluate. Taking a look at recent games. This team.
So the thing about Thompson, too, that makes me feel a little bit more confident in maybe giving him a couple of extra minutes for the matchup is that with Larry Nance playing time at the 4, that's bad for basically everyone on the team except for Thompson, because you expect that they're going to make sure Larry Nance gets, 16, 18 minutes a night. It would be really surprising if he played like 10 minutes. And if he was playing all of his minutes at center, that means that you can only give Tristan Thompson so many minutes. But since Nance is getting his minutes in multiple positions now, you can give Thompson as many minutes as you want and then just move Nance's minutes to a different position.
That's a good point. I bumped him up to 33 now. Don't want to get too crazy. I want to see how that responds when I run my next crunch. Nice prison shirt, Josh. I'm wearing I don't know. You probably can't see me. It's just orange and white horizontal stripes. So touche on that one. I deserve that. Could appreciate it. Anything else from Cleveland?
I do not think so.
To Minnesota we go. Karl Anthony Towns, 10,800 on FanDuel, 10K flat on DK. I got 1% of Towns on my first crunch. I missed the days of Towns being $9,000 and people thinking it was crazy to play him. If I got him, I got him because this is clearly the Cavs and they aren't a very good team, but they're playing so slow. I have no real interest in Towns outside of like whatever I get. I'm not disinterested. He's just not a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still projecting him really well. The pace is the issue here, like you said. Cleveland just plays insanely slow, but Towns obviously should be productive when he's out there. His game logs are also, I mean, obviously he's coming off a huge game, but his games prior to that are a little bit uglier than they should have been as well. Back-to-back games where he was in foul trouble and only played 28 minutes. He's without Butler on the floor this year, he has about a 28% usage rate. Since the trade, he's still in that range. So I still have him projected for like 54 DraftKings points, which, obviously is perfectly fine at his price tag.
I have him at 47.9.
I had him in the last game. I had him at 58.5. And it was just completely breaking everything, like every lineup that I made, because it was just giving me him over like every other player on the slate. So I cut him back to like 56, dropped him out of my main lineup, and then learned to just never doubt my projections again.
Smooth Boyle in chat. I assume he's talking about this Cavs game and not the Hornets game. I don't know how far back this message went, but said good to game stack on this. I would say no.
Hornets, sure.
Yeah. Not so much on Cavs Wolves.
Yeah, it's tough to game stack when one of the teams has like a bunch of shitty players that you don't want to play.
Yeah. It's tough to game stack when one of the teams is the Cavs.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play Andrew Wiggins, I'm really hoping I get one of these 0.1 rebound, 1 assist games or whatever the hell that he just did.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
That is fucking bad.
Narrative Street, though, one of the only ones that I actually not believe in, but like
he just
mention it all. Yeah, and it's not completely in jest.
0 for 12 from the field against Chicago. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1.7 fantasy points in 29 minutes. Whew. I don't even know what to say to something like that. How does that happen?
I have no idea.
If I were 0 for 10 from the field, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just work a little bit harder at like crashing the boards or something. Maybe I can get something going there. 1 board.
The assists have actually been better for him this season overall too. So it was pretty funny that came in. Like he had a 1 assist game at the same time that he didn't score too.
Like that is he's so close to a flat 0 across the board.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Like a untied shoe.
I think there were 2 guys that had 0 points at the half in that game too. It was Wiggins and I think Covington maybe.
Oh my god. Well, that one at least makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Do you want any Wiggins here? 5,800 is kind of an appealing price point on DraftKings.
I think he's perfectly fine, especially assuming that his ownership's down. It has nothing to do with the fact he's playing the Cavs.
Right.
I just think the price tag is pretty appealing for him. He plays, he has small forward eligibility, which is really nice on DraftKings in general. So, yeah, I mean, I think that he projects as a good play. If I'm playing one guy from Minnesota and, not talking about roster construction or anything, Towns is my favorite. But behind him, Wiggins is my second guy.
Do you want to know who the chalkiest play is on DraftKings today in our first draft of ownership projections?
Towns?
No. Even better. We've talked about him already.
Is he on the Wolves or is he?
No, he's on the other team.
Oh, okay. Sexton?
Nope.
Thompson?
I like him.
Hood?
Yep.
He's been super high in our early projections like every day.
Yeah. It's because of his price.
Yeah. And then he's like 4% owned.
Yeah, he'll go down. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Fun to look at. Let me grab these now and get them in my sheet so we could talk about them. Rodney Hood, what up? All right, refresh. Good to go. Anything standing out? Hood, a lot of ownership. 15% to Wiggins on DK. I would like that to like go down if I were on DraftKings, clearly, but
yeah, like I don't think I would want more than that.
No, not too much more, at least.
Yeah.
Taj getting a little love on FanDuel, 4,100. I don't know what to do with his minutes. I mean, I know what to do with his minutes. I don't know what to do with him because of that.
Yeah, I mean, he played 23 last game.
Yeah,
I'm still going to project him for 20.
What's the upside here? There isn't any, right?
Well, I mean, the upside would be that like Sarge twists his ankle or something and Gibson plays 36 minutes. But as far as like actual expected rotations, there's literally 0.
Okay. Hood's ownership will go down if more value pops. Thank you, Tom. Shout out to Tom.
Cool.
Thrive contests are now up. Good to know. We will get to Thrive. Close this out. Just in case anybody's curious, I went 3-2 on the Thrive props on Friday. Adam went a crisp 1-4. We were close on a couple though.
I learned yesterday though how to quickly see what I actually have guys projected for in terms of like counting stats.
Okay.
So I'm going to kick your ass today.
Okay. I'm going to set that up today so that I have it for us on Wednesday. I didn't fix my sheet to show that. Points I can do. Rebounds and assists I can't. Oh! Adam Weinstein. I hope. Stein? Adam Weinstein. Shout out to Adam. Thrive CEO in the chat. Thanks for being here. Ooh. I had no idea. Thanks for tipping me off on that one, Tom. Anything else from Minnesota? Teague getting a little bit of love on FanDuel. I don't have any. The rest of this team just doesn't seem super interesting to me.
Yeah, there's nothing super interesting. One thing to point out would be looking at the rotation from the Chicago game. If you're just looking for like an upside tournament play, Teague played 28 minutes, but he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. You had Tyus Jones close out the game because Minnesota went on a 19-3 run, so they just left him and Rose in. So there's pretty clearly upside for Teague to get to like 34, 36 minutes, depending on game flow. So if you're playing a bunch of tournament lineups, just keep that in mind. You don't want a medium projection on Teague. In cash games, you do, and that would kind of take Teague off the board.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't have anything else to talk about. This game's going to be too slow for me. I'm trying to avoid as much as I can.
Yeah, Towns is the only one that both centers in this game are my favorite plays from their respective teams.
I'm fine with that. Here we go. The Washington Wizards hosting the Houston Rockets. 110.25 implied total for the Wizards. 113.75 for the Rockets. Just 3.5 point favorites in Washington. Let's start with Washington. And, injury news to talk about. Do we expect Dwight Howard to be playing today?
I'm not. I don't know.
I have him in. I don't know what else to do.
I'm just projecting with him out because that gives me more plays. If he's in, then I can just like cross almost everyone off.
It doesn't seem like we are projecting him in. He's at 0% on both. Pull up Roto World. See if there's a note on him right now.
I would think that he would kind of want to just sit back in the shadows for another week or so and not have his name in the news.
Yeah. We literally have no information. Like, I've seen nothing. I have no idea. I mean, at some point in time, you would think he's going to be back. This is probably not the best time to do it.
Yeah. I would expect that we get an update at like 6:00 saying he's a game time decision for the third time that day.
Okay. Well, right now I have him in. You have him out, so we'll be able to get both sort of perspectives on this. Oh my God, Dwight! What a story. John Wall 9,300 on FanDuel, 9K on DK. Like Houston, I don't love this for Washington. It's a pace down game. You wouldn't think that, but it is. I don't have a ton of interest in Wall. If I get any, it's fine. He's got 17% expected ownership on FanDuel. I would probably rather be below that. Swishamart, if you're being serious, what is the news that came out on Dwight? You missed it. Just Google it. I'm not going to do a great job of explaining this.
Yeah, I'm not going to attempt that.
Do you want any part of Wall? You lump Beal in. His price on DraftKings is kind of nice.
For Wall, I think that one thing that's a little bit concerning is, so we know that the Wizards are looking to play Satoransky more. They said that they were going to play him more at the 3. That lasted exactly one game, like most things that Scott Brooks does that are smart. And last game, you got 15 minutes from Satoransky. Wall played 34.5. So it seems that maybe they're going to use Satoransky to keep Wall's minutes in check between like 34 and 36. In the same game, you had Beal play 40 plus. So that's at least a little bit concerning on Wall. It's a little bit tougher to confidently project him for like 38 minutes like we were able to do earlier in the season. So, yeah, I don't love him. Like, I'd rather get to Beal. I'd rather get to Markieff Morris from this team.
Yeah, Beal for 7,400 on DraftKings looks really nice. 8,200 on FanDuel, so I'm not like over the moon for that. Had to work that little catchphrase in there for everybody. Too many other guys around Beal that I would probably be more interested in. I'm not getting a ton of anything from Washington outside of Dwight Howard if he's in. 6,300 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DK. If he's out, then I guess, I don't know, probably Markieff Morris becomes interesting, and I don't know, Kelly Oubre on DraftKings.
Yeah, just Markieff for me, really, because he's basically the backup center now when Howard's out. You have Thomas Bryant playing stints at the beginning of each half, and then you have Markieff Morris playing every single minute at center behind him, as long as he doesn't pick up 3 fouls in the first half like he did last game. But the thing for Keefe is that there are 2 things, just going back to his entire time with the Wizards, that make him a really productive fantasy player. One of those is when he gets to play with the second unit, where Wall and or Beal are not on the floor. The other is when he gets to play center, and those are both happening right now. Granted, Beal is also playing with the second unit, but you don't have Wall out there at least. But he is getting, a ton of minutes at the 5, which gives him more rebounding. He gets a little bit of a usage bump without, Wall out there for every minute he's playing. So he's still really cheap. People still just do not roster him at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still like Keefe quite a bit as long as Howard's out. The one risk, I guess, would be that with Clint Capella playing like 36 plus minutes a night, maybe you see Thomas Bryant pick up some more minutes, but I'm not super confident in that happening. I think that Keefe can probably handle it.
The irony of us not knowing whether Dwight Howard is in or out is not lost on me today.
I had missed it.
Let's go to Houston, where I really like Houston tonight. It's a big time pace up spot for them. Wizards are, moving at like 6 possessions more per game than Houston in my numbers. So I'm keeping a close eye on Houston. We'll start with James Harden, 11-7 on FanDuel, 11-4 on DraftKings. You mentioned Giannis being your highest projected guy on DraftKings today. That would be James Harden for me. What do you want to do with Harden?
So do you have Paul in or out?
In.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if Paul's in, I'm still interested in Harden. I think that it's worth noting that, obviously he had like a 47% usage rate without Chris Paul in last game. But since Carmelo left, even if you throw out that game that Paul sat, you're looking at a usage rate from Harden of around 39, 40%. Not that you necessarily expect that to keep up, but it's good to see him being more aggressive overall lately. And, obviously still playing big minutes. So really good spot for him. Like him a lot. If I have Paul in, I have him, as a good play. I have him at like 57 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. If I take Paul out, I end up getting him up into like the Giannis range.
Okay. Yeah, I like Harden quite a bit. I like Paul quite a bit. 8,500 on FanDuel, 8K on DK. I just, it looks like D'Antoni is starting to like tighten up that rotation again and play, a couple extra minutes to all of the studs. Clint Capella's just been playing like insane minutes for a center, particularly a center of his ilk. I would never expect him to get there, but he is. So I like Harden. I like Paul. I don't want to say like because this is not the right word, but I'll have some PJ Tucker. I'll never like PJ Tucker because he's PJ Tucker, but
it's a PJ Tucker like type game though.
Yeah, it is.
It also wouldn't be surprising at all to see Tucker get more minutes behind Capella. He did last game too against Cleveland where you have Larry Nance playing center.
Yeah.
And then here you'll have Markieff Morris potentially. So I think that it would make sense for Tucker to get more minutes at the 5 in place of Hartenstein, which makes him a little bit more valuable as well.
Yeah, that'll play, if Dwight is in or out, kind of matters for Tucker from that sort of strategy standpoint. What do you want to do with Capella? 8,600 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DK, just playing as much as he possibly can game to game. This feels like a really good spot for him if he's going to play that much. Wizards, terrible rebounding team. If Dwight is not on the floor, who slows him down?
Yeah, he should just absolutely go nuts if Dwight doesn't play. It's kind of similar to like all the guys, all the athletic bigs that have just crushed the Wizards when Howard's not out there because they've been like the worst rebounding team in the NBA. They play fast. They suck at shooting. They don't do anything well. So yeah, it's a spot that Capella should just absolutely go nuts. The price tag is getting reasonable, but he had just been so significantly underpriced for so long that the increasing price tag isn't going to keep me off of him because it's still just getting him to where he's, close to fair and still has plenty of upside.
Yeah, I'm going to take a very close look at Capella once we get the Dwight news. Not that Dwight matters for Capella in this sense. It's just like, it doesn't make me want Capella less if Dwight plays. It just makes me want him more if he doesn't. So I think he looks good regardless.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's just, it's an even better spot if Dwight sits.
Yeah.
What's your take on Gordon if Chris Paul sits?
I'd probably have some, but nothing crazy. 5,100 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DraftKings. Take a look and see what else is here. So he is sandwiched in between Malcolm Brogdon, $300 more expensive, and $300. he's $300 less expensive than Brogdon, $300 more expensive than David Nwaba. I mean, I would prefer Gordon than both of those guys if Chris Paul is out. So I guess I would probably like him quite a bit. I would assume he'd end up being pretty chalky as a shooting guard option on FanDuel. So I wouldn't expect myself to go over the field or anything. But if he got into like the mid 20s of ownership, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I am as well. It's just like being completely torn on what to do because obviously he's a better play if Paul's out. It's still a good spot for him if Paul's in. Like he's still going to play 32 minutes and get plenty of shots. He's just been shooting really poorly this year. But ownership wise, if Paul's out, it's like I have no idea really what to do with it because it's obviously a great matchup against the Wizards. You're going to get, 36 plus minutes from Gordon, but he's also going to be insanely popular. And that game against Cleveland is like, if you actually look at how he had such a big game, everything was in line with what you would project. He just happened to shoot well. He shot 5 of 11 from 3. He had 3 steals. He didn't contribute anything else. He had 0 assists. He had 2 rebounds. And if you look going back to last season, if you look at him on a per minute basis alongside Harden without Paul, he really doesn't get a bump. He's like 0.8 fantasy points per minute or something in that range. He gets a huge bump when he plays without either one of them. But if Harden's going to play 40 plus minutes, you're only getting 8 minutes tops of his 1.2 points per minute. So you end up getting what I think is a really good point per dollar play and one of the easiest cash plays in the world.
Yep.
But in terms of raw point projections, it's still really, really easy if he doesn't have a very efficient shooting night for him to disappoint in tournaments. The problem being that Washington just does nothing but give wide open threes to anyone. I mean, the Raptors shot like 55% from 3 2 nights ago against them, and it wasn't really that surprising because they're just wide open constantly.
I don't have anything else to add. That was really good analysis.
Thanks, Josh.
Best I could do. It's not going to get any better than that, folks. I'm just going to ruin it. I'll ruin it with this. I have a little bit of James Ennis on FanDuel 3,700. I don't know. Punt with him if you want. Up tempo matchup for Houston.
Cheap guys that rely on defensive stats and just defensive stats, rebounds, stuff like that against the Wizards on FanDuel where you can drop them is always appealing.
Yep, that's where I'm at. Anything else from Houston?
No, I think we like every player on the team.
Yep. Never mind. Chicago Bulls hosting the San Antonio Spurs. We're getting into the incredibly unappealing portion of the show, which might be the whole show for some of you. 104.5 implied total for the Bulls, 110.5 for the Spurs. So 6-point favorites in Chicago. As usual, the Bulls are significantly better priced on DraftKings than they are on FanDuel. We'll start with Levine, 8,600 on FanDuel, 7,700 on DraftKings. Yeah, I see no reason not to want Levine tournaments as per usual.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, obviously a really high ceiling, plays a bunch of minutes, gets up a bunch of shots. The matchup, or at least the pace, isn't super appealing. The Spurs are, middle of the pack defense. They struggle in transition, which is nice, but they just don't play fast. Chicago, one of the lower implied totals. So, no issue with Levine. If I get a bunch of him, I'm perfectly happy with that. But it's I don't know how much I'll end up actually prioritizing him. A lot will depend on how the slate breaks down as far as like Chris Paul being in or out.
Right. Jabari 7,500 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DK. Another guy where I'm fine with playing Jabari, and I think that he looks a lot better on DK than he does on FanDuel.
I like Jabari a lot. He's really been productive, not only in terms of usage, but in terms of his peripherals since they switched the starting lineup and you got Ryan Arcidiacono in over Cameron Payne, which makes a difference because he's just a zero usage guy, essentially. You have Jabari Parker with a 26% usage rate, 16.5% assist percentage, 12.7% rebounding percentage, just doing everything. And then also playing really, really big minutes, especially if we get Chandler Hutchison out. Hutchison obviously doesn't matter for DFS purposes himself, but he is Parker's backup. We have seen Parker play really, really big minutes without Hutchison in there the last few games. So that would be a little bit of a boost as well. But either way, I think that Parker just gives you a ton of upside for his price. And he just kind of continues to be under-owned because of his inconsistencies.
Wendell Carter, 6,500 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK. I got 44% Wendell Carter on FanDuel right now. He continues to just be priced like oddly low, and he's been the best per minute guy from the Bulls this entire season. How do you manage Wendell Carter on a day-to-day basis?
Get really scared and try not to overproject him because the minutes are just all over the place.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see 32 minutes last game against Minnesota. That was one of the first games in a while where Carter was not in foul trouble and the game stayed close. So it was really nice to see him actually get those 32 minutes because the last time that he had played a close game without foul trouble was against Cleveland like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point, and he had still only played 26 or 28 minutes. So it was good to at least see that when you're making tournament projections, you can give him 32 minutes and know that he can get there as long as things go his way. So the price tag on DraftKings still ends up being very, very, very appealing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I have him projected. I have Parker as my top play from the Bulls on DraftKings, followed by Carter, followed by Levine. All is really, really good plays, but in that order.
How many points do you have Carter projected for?
35.4 in 32 minutes.
I have him at 30.8, and I like him.
Let me see if his rates are where I want them.
Marshall Williams. Yes, we are running the Cyber Monday promo. Cyber Month or Cyber Year, depending on how long you're looking to subscribe. Both codes will work for the premium all access membership, not including Fantasy Cruncher.
I got him down to 33.8 now.
Okay. We've been told Carter hasn't had 30 DK points in 8 straight games.
So from a process standpoint, obviously the problem with that, and you just want to, it's something obviously always to pay attention to. So last game, he played his 32 minutes. He wasn't that productive, sure, whatever. Before that, you had, 14 minutes, 22 minutes, 22 minutes, 25 minutes, all in blowouts and or foul trouble. You just want to pay attention to what's going on in those games. It's not as easy, obviously, as just looking at, he hasn't done anything because he's not been playing minutes because he's been fouling like he's Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely going to have some Carter. I find him to be a fun play on FanDuel where he doesn't get a ton of love just because his price on DK is always significantly better.
Right.
But 6,500, he's a power forward on FanDuel, which is, I prefer it just because of the way of only needing or of having to have one center and only one center on FanDuel. I would much rather try to get as much value at power forward as I can.
Yeah, the position there kind of makes up for the fact that he's more expensive.
Yep, exactly. Do you want the rest of the Bulls? Justin Holiday, Archie, anything?
I need to figure out what's going on with Justin Holiday. His rebounding the last 2 games, he has 13 rebounds and 11 rebounds. 13 was a career high. Followed that up with 11. I don't think had double-digit rebounds once in the last, ever. Actually, yeah, I'm just scrolling back. I'm now back to the 2015 season, and we still have 0 double-digit rebounding games from Holiday. So he's playing more minutes at the 4 with Hutchison out. I just have trouble believing that with Jabari Parker playing, 38 minutes still, that Holiday, his huge uptick in rebounding is because he's getting a few minutes closer to the basket. Yeah. So I do want to just go and try and figure out what's going on there because he does play so many minutes that it makes him an appealing option just because he's on the floor that long. But then we've also seen him shooting more and getting more rebounds. So I'm definitely going to go back. I haven't done it yet, obviously. I'm going to go back and watch those last couple of games and see if I can figure out, are balls just bouncing to Justin Holiday, or is something happening where he's, more aggressively going after rebounds, like we saw with Josh Hart from the Lakers last year or something.
Chat saying Dwight Howard. Well, someone from chat saying Dwight Howard out per RotoWire, but I'm still not seeing it. So.
Yeah, not a big deal. It's 10:15 in the morning. If he's out now, we'll get it by noon.
Oh yeah, I was just, if he was out right now, I would have been really happy to make that update and just see how it looked, but not gonna matter. Let's go to San Antonio, I guess. God, I hate the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan, 8,900 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DK. I mean, it's hard not to like him or Aldridge here just because of who they're playing. Bulls terrible defensively. I got some DeRozan. I'm right around the field. I got some Aldridge. I'm right around the field. That's all that I can really. That's how I feel. I definitely want to have some of both of these guys because of this game, but I'm not trying to get a ton either. They're priced fairly.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the site. I mean, on DraftKings, you have DeRozan, who I have as a really good play, but he's $1,400 or $1,200 more than Bradley Beal is.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
So
tough
it
sell.
just makes it tough, right? So yeah, I mean, I like DeRozan. I like Aldridge a lot. Both their price tags trending back up, especially DeRozan jumped like $600 since last game. Um, Aldridge would be my favorite here just because he comes with such a high rebounding floor against a Chicago team that not only are they terrible defensively, but they're one of the worst rebounding teams in the league as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that gives Aldridge just a really, really high floor where he can, give us 15 plus rebounds potentially. And then if his shot's falling, it's just going to be a monster game. So really, really like Aldridge. No problem with DeRozan, but also like that Aldridge is coming off of a really, really bad game against Milwaukee.
Yeah, he's pretty chalky on FanDuel right now. 28% expected ownership. I got a little bit more than that, and I'm happy to be anywhere in that sort of area. I'm never going to be too upset about getting a team playing against a faster paced team and a terrible defensive team. So
Yeah.
all sign if I'm going to get there, I'm happy to get there. It's not a priority, but I'll take whatever comes up.
I just noticed it looking at Popcorn Machine from their game against the Bucks on the 24th. Don't put any stock if you're trying to update your minutes and you look and see like, oh, DeRozan played 35, Aldridge played 31. Don't put any stock in that. The Spurs went on a minus 15 run to open the game, and we got a hockey line change at the 5.5 minute mark. So yeah, that was just because they started out so terribly. That's where they lost those minutes. It's not like there was some rotation change where they're going to stop playing huge minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I still have them in at 36 and 35 respectively.
Yeah.
You gay today?
Yeah, very.
Okay.
Price tag's gone up a little bit. I liked it more when he was 5,300 and not 6,200. But really good matchup, obviously. Still playing, big minutes. He got 30 and a half minutes. He played the same amount of minutes as Marcus Aldridge against the Bucks, and he was part of that group that got, subbed out earlier than he probably would have. Also, it looks like lost a little bit of playing time in the third quarter because of a foul. He was pulled after a foul. I don't think he was actually in foul trouble though. So I don't know, but whatever. I think you can project 32 to 34 minutes for Rudy Gay here in obviously a good spot. He's basically the same price tag as Jabari Parker on DraftKings, which I do prefer Parker. But I think Gay's perfectly fine as well.
So much for current news from these two clowns. Go to NBA daily lineups for RotoWire. Shows Howard is out. Well, I mean, if it's there and nowhere else, I should probably take that as gospel. We're definitely clowns for that. Oh, God. The internet, man. The internet. Forbes, Mills, Bellinelli, anything else here? I don't. It's the Spurs.
No, nothing else.
Oh. The New Orleans Pelicans hosting the Boston Celtics. 110.75 implied total for the Pels. 109.75 for the Celtics. 1 point favorites here. I assume we're both putting Anthony Davis in right now.
Yeah, for now. Especially because normally with guys like him, I'll just err on the side of him playing because it's really, really easy to update if he's out.
Yeah.
You just play Julius Randle and you bump Nikola Mirotic to 40 minutes.
Right. So AD in 12-6 on FanDuel, 11-2 on DK. I'm getting a ton of him, mostly because he's the only high-priced option at power forward today, and LaMarcus Aldridge is next closest at $4,100 less than him. So naturally, it becomes a spot where I like AD, but I don't really like AD here. Boston, not the fastest team in the world, so a pace down spot, good defensively. Great matchup for Anthony Davis, in my opinion, but I don't think that I'm going to be comfortable being double the field on AD tonight.
Yeah,
what do you want to do with him?
It's tough for me to prioritize him on DraftKings just because he's more than Durant and he's close to Giannis. Ceiling wise, obviously, he's the same as Giannis. But just looking at my projections, I have Giannis projected for enough points more than Davis that I wouldn't end up getting Davis over him. I don't think so. It'll be tough, especially, and then you have the Paul news. Like if he's out, Harden just jumps to being the best play on the slate.
Yep, I'm on the same page as you. And T McBee is right. You guys should hit that like button. If you're just hanging out here, it's a really easy click. Just whoop, thumbs up, and then you're done. You don't have to do it again. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I don't know. Drew Holiday, 8,900 on FanDuel, 8,300 on DK. If AD is out, I want a lot of him. If AD is in, 8,900 is probably more than I'm really interested in on FanDuel. Like it's fine, but this is just not a great spot. Pace down, defensive, all the stuff I said about AD.
Yeah, exactly. Holiday is a reason, at least on DraftKings, that I'm also less likely to get to Davis because this isn't a game, I don't think, where I want both of them. It's just not a fast enough game where I would want them both like I did against Washington if Davis had played. But Holiday at 8,300, when you're talking about him without Elfrid Payton, going back to last season without Payton, Cousins, Rondo on the floor, you have a 28% usage rate and a 37% assist rate. He projects to be a better point per dollar play for me than Davis does at his price point. And so I can, get exposure to a Pelicans offense that I do like in general without having to pay all the way up to Anthony Davis.
I'm a big fan of Drew, man.
Yep.
He has really changed his entire career over these past couple of years. Went from largely injury prone to essentially never injured. I mean, I feel like he's healthy constantly now. But Philly wish they had him back. Well, I mean, this version of Drew Holiday, at least.
Right.
I'm sure they're still happy with the trade, as they should be. It was a great trade at the time. Let me bump up Holiday's usage just a little notch.
28% since last season without Peyton, alongside Davis without Peyton or those other guys on the floor.
Yeah, that'll work. Randall, I have no interest unless AD is out. Mirotic projecting 20% ownership on FanDuel, 26 on DK. I don't really have a ton of interest in that as well. Do you want anybody else from the Pelicans if we're assuming AD is in?
No. If AD is in, Drew is really the only guy that I'm interested in. For what it's worth, on RotoWire, Dwight Howard is out on Saturday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's nowhere else. It's not on Twitter.
On Saturday.
Oh. I get it. That's not today. Sometimes it's the little things. So yeah, you don't want to play him for Saturday. That is probably smart. This past Saturday, that is. Time machine time. Do you want to go to Boston?
Yeah.
This one's actually important, and it normally isn't, but pace-up game for Boston. Pell's defense, not good from a fantasy perspective. And no Jaylen Brown, which means we're going to have some minutes opening up. We'll start with Kyrie, 9K on FanDuel, 8,700 on DraftKings. The Jaylen Brown news doesn't really matter much for me for Kyrie. I don't really like this spot outside of the pace up. Price is fine at 9K. If I get some, I get some, but he's not a priority.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at as well. It's just tough to prioritize him at that price, but he is someone that if you're making a bunch of tournament lineups, I would want to make sure that my inputs reflect his ceiling. Like if his average usage rate is 29%, that's fine if you're playing cash games. But for tournaments, I would want to give him a usage rate up closer to like 32, 33%, just because that he can go out there and do that. And otherwise I'm going to get like 0 of him. But yeah, I'm really surprised how low Boston's total is here.
Yeah, 109.75 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9th highest of the 14 teams.
I also had it lower, so
okay,
pulled something wrong.
I mean, it could just be a line change since I've entered it, or
no, I mean like way low, like at 100.
Oh yeah, you're wrong.
That's why I was like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, you're definitely wrong then.
So what do you have them at?
109.75.
And what are the Pels at?
110.75.
That makes Everything I'm looking at different. Yeah, okay. That makes more sense. Like I was looking at stuff like this just doesn't seem right.
Let me double check it. I'm nervous. Yep. -1 is the line.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so all right, now Davis is back like cuz I had Davis projected lower than I really thought I should have, same for Drew. And then I just happened to notice it on Boston was like if they're projected for 100 points, I would just put all my money on that.
Willie Hoops back doubling down on his call of RotoWire. So welcome back, Willie Hoops. Keep getting it. 6,300 for Al Horford, 5,400 on DK. We're projecting him to be very chalky, 30% expected ownership on DraftKings, and that makes sense. It's Horford at 5,400. It's not terribly appealing to me, but I get it. It's a very nice point per dollar play. What do you think about Horford?
Yeah, I think the price tag just doesn't make any sense. You're going to get 30 to 32 minutes from him, and he just does. He obviously doesn't do any one thing in great abundance, but he rebounds, he gets assists, he scores enough to where there's really just nothing but like profit margin. I don't think at that price tag, it makes it just really, really difficult for him to actually underperform.
Yep. All right, now let's get into the goods. No Jaylen Brown. I'm going to start with the guy that I'm getting the most of. Marcus Smart, 4K on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings. He's got to be the biggest benefactor of Brown being out, right?
I would expect. I think either him or Rozier, probably depends on how the game goes. But Smart would be the one that I'm projecting to get the biggest boost.
I've got him in for 27 minutes right now. I got him. He hit my ownership cap on FanDuel, 64%. He's just too smart, or he's too smart.
He's too smart.
Well, that's true too, I guess. He's just too cheap for the increase in minutes. I'm never comfortable like rostering Marcus Smart, but this is also the type of game where it's a pace up. He can be all over the floor. Pelicans are good, so he might be a little bit more invested. I could narrative street this one as well for Smart, but I like it here. I want to have a lot of Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I don't have him projected that highly.
I'm at 25 fantasy points.
I am at 20 right now, but I think let me see.
How many minutes?
28. Yeah, my rates are how I would want them as well. Yeah, I'm at 21 and now at 21.4 fantasy points on DraftKings.
21.4 in how many minutes? 28?
Yeah, I think it seems low.
That's 0.76 fantasy points per minute at that rate. He's been a 0.93 guy. That seems pretty low.
When?
Forever? Unless I've got a bug in my data.
I've always had Smart as a not close to a point per minute guy.
Now you're scaring me.
This season, without Jaylen on the floor, not that that should make a big difference, he's 0.76 points per minute.
Now you're scaring me. Let me bring up NBA Wowie.
0.77 for the season, regardless of who's on the floor.
I don't like this. I really don't. It's not that I want to be right. I just don't want to be.
You don't want to question other things.
Well, yeah, I don't want to have to dig into this. If it's wrong and it's wrong for a problematic reason.
Right. Since the start of last season, 0.78.
What the fudge? Where? Yeah, Mike Deck says FanDuel rate could be higher with more points for stocks.
That's very, very true.
Yeah, but it wouldn't go from 0.77 to 0.94 or something. It's too big of a swing. All right, since the beginning, I'm on Wowie right now.
FanDuel, I'm seeing him at 0.76.
Oh my god, 0.82. Why? All right, so why am I getting him so highly there?
I also wasn't on Wowie, so there could easily be different.
I'm not even looking at the right shit. Marcus Smart. Wrong column. Okay. 0.432 per possession. I don't know. I'm going to dig into this one. Look, I really like Marcus Smart. I have him. So the calculation that I was looking at was for this particular game where I have him at 0.93. I think what I might be doing here is giving more credit for additional possessions in this particular game than you are, which is giving him more points on a minute perspective.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Okay. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, but I'm really confident he's not a 0.9 per minute guy like
regularly. Yeah, I am also confident in that. Like I said, I have him at 0.432 per possession. So even if you just double that, that's 0.86. I'm probably still a little aggressive there, but that's smart for you. Anyway, I'm going to have a ton of smart because he's 4K and I play on FanDuel, and he should get more minutes. And that really is all that matters for me.
I have Terry Rozier projected for half a fantasy point more in 2 minutes less at a lower price on DraftKings. I think this is a really good spot if you're going to play one of these guys to just play whichever one is less popular, because chances are we're going to see one of them, I would assume Smart, talked up throughout the entire day and become really popular, and the other one not. And that's just a really good spot in tournaments to just do the opposite.
Now that I'm looking at this, I'm confident in what I have in here. Not that he's a regular, 0.9 whatever guy, but because of the pace up for Boston and his increase in minutes, I think he's more of like a 0.9 guy for today.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Not just Marcus Smart, though. Terry Rozier, 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,900 on DK. Another guy that I'll probably have in like half of my lineups, especially on FanDuel. Sub 4,000 with the potential to like really break a slate if he goes crazy. I love Terry Rozier here. It's hard not to.
Yeah, same. I would just play, if I'm gonna play one of them in tournaments, I would just take the one who is not gonna be popular, because chances are one of them will and one of them won't. In cash games, take the popular one.
Right now, they're at 20% and 25% respectively. Smart and Rozier. Yeah, I'll probably have 50 of both if that holds.
Yeah.
What are your? I assume we're on the same page here. I'd be fine playing them together in some lineups just because of their prices. It's not my most appealing thing. It wouldn't be something that I would build one lineup around. But because they're both, they're $7,800 combined on FanDuel, I don't have a gigantic problem with playing them both together on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but I wouldn't set a rule against it, I don't think.
Yeah. If one of them goes crazy, like you can still be dropping Terry Rozier at 3,800, which is still functionally like what you're looking to do anyway. I don't see any reason why they couldn't play well together. They've played a lot together. I checked that out today. With Jaylen Brown off, they play a ton of possessions where both guys are on the floor. They don't really take from each other. So I know that's the type of thing people generally ask. I have less and less of a problem, and I think most people do, less and less of a problem with playing two guys together when they're low priced.
Yeah, exactly. Same way there for me. Guys, there are obviously certain guys that take from each other, but in general, if you're allocating 20% of your salary cap to two guys from the same team, it makes it really tough for you to get there without like a game stack where the game just goes nuts. If you're allocating, in this case, 10, 12%?
Yeah.
Then it's much, much different.
Yeah, like for 7,800 on FanDuel, I mean, like they need to hit 40 to hit 5x combined. That would be you'd be disappointed if they got to that. And they could conceivably go to like 75 together. So I'm in for all the Marcus Smart. I'm in for all the Terry Rozier. Anybody else you want to grab from Boston? It doesn't really change anything for me with regards to Tatum or Hayward. Those guys are just what they normally are.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything for me, but I do think that Hayward's pretty interesting, just because of the matchup. I expect him to have success in this spot. Still, I would guess coming off the bench, but either way, should play, around 32 minutes here, I think. And it's just a Pelicans team that struggles to defend wings, and I think Hayward is still cheap enough that he's a pretty appealing option.
There we go. Yeah, Willie Hoops just continuing to talk some smack. So I'm going to say that I really like every single player just to, dig the knife in a little bit further. I'll get a lot more out of that. Ready to move on? 2 games
Yeah.
left.
Yep.
You know what? This does not get more appealing. 9 o'clock game, solo at 9. The Utah Jazz, 106.25 implied total. The Indiana Pacers, 101.25. So much up in the air in this game. Pacers, Oladipo, Sabonis, and Turner, I believe, are all questionable, which is just lovely for that start time, especially for FanDuel peeps. Donovan Mitchell, I would guess, still up in the air. So what do you want to do with it? Just the whole game in general. Do you have any interest in anything here? As we are right now.
It all comes down to news, because if those guys are in, then it just takes away usage and everything from everybody. Especially because we've had Oladipo out for so many games that price tags have come up. It really just depends on news here, and it's really difficult to really like anyone at this point.
Yeah, same page. It's impossible for us to say anything about Indiana. If everybody's healthy, you can talk me into a little bit of Oladipo, but otherwise I don't really need anything from this game. If one of Sabonis or Turner is out, play the other one. That's really all that it is, right? If they're both out, play Kyle O'Quinn.
If Oladipo's out, if Oladipo's out and Sabonis is in, you still get a huge boost in terms of every stat across the board for Sabonis.
Yeah.
The minutes, if Turner is in, still are questionable. This is a game where you could get some more Turner alongside Sabonis. It's a big enough Utah team. Turner alongside Sabonis. If Oladipo's out, obviously it becomes more appealing for everybody. If one of the bigs is out, it becomes very appealing for the other one. So, it just comes down to news here.
Okay. From the Jazz side, the most I got of anybody was 5%. Clearly, if Donovan Mitchell is out again, some options open up. Rubio potentially. I don't know, depending on how big of a fan you are of Burks or Exum, there's probably some value there, both at minimum salary on FanDuel. I don't really care for this game whatsoever.
No, just a really slow-paced game, and we got from Utah yesterday exactly what I was hoping would not happen, and they just played essentially like an 11 or a 12-man rotation without Mitchell. So it just really made things gross. Like you got Neto playing, you got Burks, you got O'Neal obviously got the start, which was expected, but then you got some Grayson Allen as well. I would expect that Burks is the one who I think has the highest ceiling there. If he plays well, he probably stays on the floor, and he's cheap, especially as a FanDuel play where you can just drop him.
Yep.
But it's just that there's no real certainty to his minutes, because if he goes out and plays poorly, they can be real quick to get Grayson Allen in there or get Neto in there and just run all these guys for enough minutes where it makes them all insignificant. So really, if Mitchell's out and you get Burks, would be the one that I'm most interested in tournaments, just because he has upside.
Right.
I would have no interest in Royce O'Neal, even though he's starting. Like, he just doesn't do anything, outside of it's a FanDuel punt.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. I love Burks if Mitchell's out.
Oh, Ricky Rubio if Mitchell's out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Burks at flat minimum on FanDuel becomes like a great spot to throw away 3,500. But
Gobert's DraftKings price is really appealing too. It's just such a slow-paced game that it sucks.
Yeah, Utah is 24th in my pace metric. Indiana is 27th. Both teams super low total. There's so much up in the air. Like, if you're ready to late swap, no one will really be on this game on DK. You can probably get some leverage on the field if this thing goes awry. But for me on FanDuel, I can't imagine having much of this unless we get the news early. And even then, I don't really find any part of this appealing outside of the Indiana side if we're losing one or two guys.
Right.
Final game. 10:30 start. Late night hammer. The Golden State Warriors hosting the Orlando Magic. 111.25 implied total for the Warriors. 103.25 for the Magic. So 8-point favorites. What are you doing with Draymond? I haven't seen anything official yet. I have him out.
I right now have him out as well.
Okay. It's basically just like he got an MRI on his toe. Something's wrong. He's day to day. So
Right.
best I can do right now. We'll start with the Golden State side. 11-5 for Kevin Durant on FanDuel. 10-9 on DK. I mean, it's hard for him to not look great. I know you have been very much a Kevin Durant stan for the time that Curry is out, with good reason. I see no reason to avoid him today. Looks great.
Yeah, no problems at all. His price tag's still down as a result of him, not shooting well. He even in that last game against Sacramento, where obviously he played really well, he still shot 2 for 8 from 3. That gives him like 6 for his last, 34 from 3. So still like room for him to improve from that aspect. But as long as the game stays competitive, you're getting 38 plus minutes from Kevin Durant most likely. And if Draymond's out, you get a little bit of a boost in the assist department. But regardless of Draymond, you're still looking at 36% plus usage rate from Durant here, and he's just priced down as a result of his poor shooting over the last 7 or 8 games.
Yeah. In a vacuum, we're preferring Durant to Giannis tonight because of pricing.
Yeah.
Same page with you. Klay Thompson, 7,200 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DK. He's projected for 21% ownership on FanDuel right now, and I got 1. I'm rarely comfortable with that, but I also rarely feel like Klay Thompson is going to be the guy that kills me. When he kills me, he's going to really kill me.
He's just getting so many shots up.
He is.
He's really, and I don't know really the reason for it, but if you run his numbers with this group from like last season, he just has a usage rate like 3 or 4% lower than what we've actually seen this season. With when he plays alongside Durant without Curry or Dre, he's got around like a 30% usage rate this year. And then when he gets those minutes without Durant, he's at 40%. And so he ends up averaging out around 33, 34%. Which if you're going to get 36 to 38 minutes from Klay and he's going to have a usage rate up there, then it just makes him really, really appealing. He still doesn't contribute much else at all.
Yeah.
But it makes him a much better play and makes a big difference when he's getting, 22 to 26 shots up instead of like 16 to 18.
Yeah, that's a good point. If Draymond's out, I probably need to even give him a bigger boost. 20, I think, let me make sure that I got this right. I was just looking at it. 20 plus shot attempts in his last 5 games, usage rates in the high 30s. Like, that's a very different. I mean, I think Klay's putting on a little bit of a show for whether or not he comes back to Golden State, because it's starting to look like a guy that can heave. I want to look at his specific usage rate with these two guys off for this season. It is 32.9% usage rate on Klay Thompson. I only have him in here right now for 29, so I think I need to give him a little bit of a boost. This is all assuming Draymond is out. It seems like it's not going up as much as I would have expected it to go up. And those are the
Dre doesn't really make a big difference there either. Like,
no.
It probably any like marginal drop he gets in usage, he probably makes up for in efficiency with Dre.
All right, so Klay Thompson.
But yeah, when he's this season, when he's played without Curry, Dre, or Durant on the floor, which is like 25% of his normal rotation, he's up to like 40.5% usage.
That's insanity. All right, there we go. I like that a little bit more. See how he grades out now. Would you rather have Chris Middleton at 7,400 or Klay Thompson at 7,200 on FanDuel? Thompson has double the ownership.
Still Klay. Yeah, Klay. Because you're talking, I think Klay can get to 38 minutes easier than Middleton can as well.
I feel like I would want Middleton here. I don't know. Just because of that game.
Yeah, I mean, and the ownership difference is pretty significant there.
Yeah.
But also, I would probably have Durant, and that would make a difference.
This is a pretty slow game as well.
That it is. Especially because Golden State doesn't play as fast without Curry.
Yeah, by like a lot.
Yeah. I'm looking now. I've DraftKings projections in front of me, but I'm trying to see how. Yeah, I take that back. I think I would actually say Middleton with the ownership difference, just because I have like a 1 point difference between them.
Okay. Do you care about anybody else on Golden State besides Durant and Thompson?
No, not particularly.
Okay. Go to the Orlando side. Vooch, 9K on FanDuel, 7,800 on DraftKings. The ownership is coming with him, though. I would have a hard time not wanting at least some Vooch, particularly on DK. It's a really nice matchup for him when, half of the big four are out.
Yeah, on DraftKings, I think what'll end up being interesting is how we get ownership projected between Vooch and Capella, with it being a $100 price difference. I prefer the spot for Capella going against Washington, but and so that would make it so if Vooch is projected to be higher owned, especially coming off of a 73-point game yesterday against the Lakers, or 2 days ago, whatever day it was, I think it was yesterday. Then I would prefer Capella. Also, one thing to point out between them is we got 36 minutes from Vooch against the Lakers, but in general, he's been playing much more frequently in the 32 to 34 minute range, whereas Capella is basically night in and night out playing 36 with upside to get to like 40.
Yeah.
So from a minute standpoint, I think you kind of have to have Capella ahead of Vooch unless you're just, trying to get Vooch's, absolute ceiling out of this. So yeah, those are two things worth pointing out. That being said, obviously it's a good match. I like the matchup for Vooch. I like the price point a lot at 7,800. It's just that I would have him a little bit behind Capella because of the pace the Wizards play at, how bad they are at rebounding, and the fact that Capella, if you run this game 100 times, Capella plays 2 or 3 minutes more than Vooch in a pretty high percentage of them.
Adam, I am dying to know what you got in a fight about with Kaltenbach, if that is who you were referring to at the beginning of the show. Not a real fight, people.
No, not a real fight. We're really good friends, and I was trolling him in DMs about Kyrie Irving and John Wall, and then he put it on Twitter, and we just went back and forth for a while.
Yeah. Not what you guys think it is.
Yeah. No actual animosity there.
Yeah. Just in case you're curious, Capella projecting right now 18% ownership, Vooch 26. I would prefer Capella in that scenario then.
You said Capella was what? Vooch was 26?
Yep. Capella 18, Vooch 26.
Yeah. If Capella's projected lower owned than Vooch, then I would take Capella. That being said, obviously on DraftKings you can roster both, and that's probably a pretty good way to go.
I agree.
But if I'm only fitting one into my lineup, especially because I like Towns a lot too, then I would just take Capella over Vooch at the same price point, especially if he's lower owned.
Lots more value here coming from Orlando. Evan Fournier, 6,400 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DK. And then DJ Augustine, 4,500 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DK. Both guys coming up with way better price points than they are on FanDuel. Same thing for John Isaac, but he's just been popping for me like crazy at 3,500 on DraftKings. What do you want to do with all three of those guys? Fournier, Augustine, Isaac. Any interest at all?
Some. Yeah, I mean, they're all too cheap, like you said. Fournier, I mean, if his minutes are kind of all over the place too. I don't like that Jonathan Simmons reemerged yesterday. He's another one that was he like DNP'd and then came out yesterday and played really well. He's basically Fournier's direct backup, so he can siphon some minutes away. I still think the price tag's too cheap there. Augustine, like, he's a good point per dollar play. It's pretty unlikely that he gives you like a game that you would want in tournaments. For Isaac, I'm trying to get that game up on Popcorn Machine because I basically had sworn off Isaac until he gets back into the starting lineup, because a lot of his minutes come at the expense of Aaron Gordon. And obviously we see enough variation or volatility in Orlando's rotations where there are some games that Gordon plays 30, 31 minutes, and you can easily get Isaac into that 24 to 26 minute range. The problem is that when Gordon plays 36 minutes, which he does often enough that it's an issue, then you have to have Isaac basically take Jonathan Simmons minutes, or you're getting like 16 minutes from Isaac. So as long as he's coming off the bench, it's really, really difficult for me to actually be confident in him.
Really good question here. Why is Carmelo Anthony only 3,500?
I tried to come up with something smart to say, but it's too early.
Yeah, I'll just let that one hang out there in the ether. Yeah, Fournier and Augustine look good. Is DJ Augustine like the homeless man's JJ Barea?
DJ Augustine.
For
No,
the Magic?
I mean
Like
Redick actually like does things though.
Yeah, you're probably right. We didn't touch on Aaron Gordon. He's just kind of there for me. 7,800 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DK. I don't really have like a take for him. I don't love this game just in general.
Yeah, I like Gordon more in games where it's fast paced, and this just isn't that. Yeah, he's I don't know. He's cheap enough to where it always scares me when he's not in my lineup because I'm just a pretty big Aaron Gordon fan.
Same.
But yeah, I don't know. Just even looking at this team, like I would have Vooch ahead of him, I would have Fournier ahead of him, and then I would have him.
Larry Legend says Jimmer Fredette minimum salary tonight. Yeah, that's the path you're on if you're trying to get mellow. Alrighty, we are done. 7 games up, 7 games down, which means time to thrive. I've got the Thrive props pulled up now. So you have to pick when you're playing a Thrive contest. You have to pick 10 total props. We are going to give you our favorite 5, and we are going to start with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. We hop over here. That's not the right window, so I'm going to fail at that. Share screen. There we go. I'm going to drop the link in chat, bit.ly/ThriveStrat, if you're looking to sign up. A really nice bonus structure, too. Let me make sure I get the right numbers here. I don't want to misquote it. Where's it hiding? Tom, if you're still listening, drop that bonus structure in the chat for me. I'm having trouble finding that message now. But if you're trying to sign up, already in there posting. I appreciate that. Makes it so much easier for me. It's hard to do both at the same time. There's the link if you're looking to sign up. bit.ly/ThriveStrat. So we've got Giannis. First prop up, the main prop in my opinion. Get my phone back open. 26.5 points. That is raw points. The over gives you 95. The under gives you 105 points. Adam, if it's 26.5 points for Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight, are you taking the over or the under?
Got him projected for 31, so I think I have to go over.
I think you do too. Let me take a look and see what I've got Giannis at right now. I have Giannis projected for 28.3. So both of us taking pretty firm overs on Giannis. I'm a little bit more pessimistic. There it is. Thrive bonuses. $10 bonus for a $10 deposit, $20 for a $100 deposit, and $50 for a $200 or more deposit. So get it, people. Get it. Next prop on the board. Let me see if there's another points one. Okay, this one could be fun. Andrew Wiggins. 22.5 points plus rebounds.
So basically over under 21.5 points.
I'll take the under if he's going to play like he did a couple days ago. Let's find Wiggins here. I have Wiggins projected for game points. 18.5 real points, which means I would need more than 4 rebounds. Not exactly the most fun number for Wiggins, but the under shaded. You get 110 fantasy points for the under, only 90 for the over. Adam, what do you want to do with Andrew Wiggins here at 22.5?
At 22.5. So I have him projected for 19 fantasy points and 4.5 rebounds. Or not fantasy points, 19 actual points and 4.5 rebounds.
So you're over.
So that's over, and you said
over is 90 points, under is 110.
I'll take the over.
Okay. I am taking the over as well. So we are both on both overs, and both overs have been shaded, getting less fantasy points. Just in case Chad is curious. So you get a certain amount of points based on whether you take the over or the under. If you take the over for Giannis, you get 95 points. If you take the under, you get 105 if you're right. So there's some shading based on which side is more likely. Moving on, third prop, James Harden, 37.5 points plus assists. That's a big number, but it is James Harden. Adam, you want the over or the under? 100 points on both sides.
I have. So if I assume Paul's out, and you said the number was 30. What was the number?
37.5 points plus assist.
I haven't projected for that many points right now.
I have him for 32.9 points with Paul in.
Yeah.
We're both taking the over here, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing like how low I can get the rates and not have to take the over. Yeah, I'm definitely taking the over.
Okay. We're going to go to your team now. Bradley Beal. 29.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. 105 for the over, 95 for the under. Again, 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
29.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I have him at like 33 total.
Okay.
So, and what was the scoring?
105 for the over.
Definitely the over. Yeah.
I have him for 22 just points. So I would need 7 rebounds and assists to get me where I need to be. We are both on the over for all 4 props so far.
It's funny too because we both like hate this slate in terms of excitement and projecting guys highly, but we just have the over here.
Man, I have another one where we're going to clearly take the over.
We should try and get one where we might be different. Because
Okay.
I need to even the series out at 1-1.
Okay. Well, that's what my goal was, to take things that we would be equal on so that I will always maintain my lead. This one could be good. Let me look at it quick. I want to see where I'm at. That way I'll be able to tell if we're going to be close or not.
If it's Marcus Smart, we'll be different.
Noted. Okay. You'll probably be over here. Maybe we'll give you a bonus pick if I'm wrong. DeMar DeRozan. 24.5 points. 100 for the over, 100 for the under. What would you like to do with DeMar DeRozan?
I haven't projected for 25.
I haven't projected for 25.5.
Let me see. I just want to double check.
10 for 10 on overs.
Yeah, over.
All right, we'll just talk about a couple others. I won't enter them in. Klay Thompson, over under 3.5 rebounds. Over 85 points.
I would take the under then because I haven't projected for 3.9.
There you go. Oh, God. I would probably take the over.
You said over was 85, right?
I did. I feel like a lot of people would take the under, and I would game theory that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's valid.
Ooh, here's one that's really interesting. It's not one we've talked about yet, and we'll get out of here after this one. So shout out to Thrive. Link is in the chat if you want to sign up. Clint Capella, 2.5 blocks. Over is 130, under 70.
I'd take the over.
Yeah, so would I.
I have him at 2.1.
And then,
Yeah.
I'd love to know how popular that is. I'm going to have to start tracking
Plus,
this and see.
Yeah, I mean, John Wall is useless if he's not getting to the rim, so that's a couple of blocks for Capella.
Dyer in chat, the flawless spelling of Antetokounmpo. Yeah, I've had to type it so much for so many years that I just know how to do it now.
I actually noticed when I was writing the deep dive article the other day that I don't get it autocorrected I don't get the red line under it anymore.
Yeah, I had to break it down, so I started with just knowing that it was Ante to Ku Unumumpo. And the end of it is so weird that I've learned how to just do it.
I think it took me less time to figure out how to say Archidiakono than it took me to figure out how to spell Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. Adam, anything else?
Deep dive article from Lofty will be out around 3-ish.
Yes.
And deeper dive show with Lofty and myself around 5 Eastern.
There you go. Live before lock tonight, myself, Eddie Fear, starting at 6, breaking down the 7-gamer. And if you want to, spoiler alert, tomorrow's live before lock stream, Chris Spags and me. I'm back. Chris and I doing live before lock tomorrow. Going old school. Should be fun. Engelman's Essentials, my cheat sheets for FanDuel and DraftKings have both been posted as well, so go check those out. They are on the website. Open to the public. Check it all out. I think that's it, everybody. We will be back tomorrow morning, myself and Lofty, breaking it down. Best of luck tonight, guys. We'll talk to you later.